Hello, everyone, and welcome to this other episode of the Artelize Podcast. I'm absolutely pleased to have today a great guest that we already encountered in our Artelize panel in January. But I'm very pleased to have with us Matthias Röder. Welcome, Matthias. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paula. And I'm really glad to be here.
So, Matthias, I'm going to give our listeners a little bit of information about your background because you've done so many things. So, I couldn't learn everything by heart, but I have some information here. And I really encourage everyone to listen to this because it's super cool. So, first of all, you are an award winning music and technology strategist, which says everything. And then, of course, you're a board member of the Karajan Foundation and also the managing director of the Elliott and Herbert von Karajan Institute. You're a co-founder and managing partner of the Mindshift, which is a very, very cool consultancy focusing on creative leadership and innovation strategy. You're also board of trustees member at the Mozarteum Foundation, and you also founded the amazing Karajan Music Tech Conference in 2017 to promote technology in music and media. And we will definitely spend a bit more words about this because it's such a cool event. And you just, by the way, finished this year, the 2024 version. You also launched the Classical Music Hack Day series in 2013, probably being one of the first using the term hack in music, I guess. And then you're also the co-founder of the Zonophilia Foundation with your wife Zeda Röder, promoting creativity through a scientific approach. You have received a bronze Effie for an incredible project called Beethoven X, the AI project, and also another super cool project, the launch of the hit by Robbie Williams, Angels, released in collaboration with Deutsche Telekom, where artificial intelligence was utilized to add Beethoven style composition to the track. I just want to conclude by saying that you are a renowned speaker and former lecturer at Harvard University and University of St. Gall and Salzburg University. And you hold a PhD in music from Harvard University. And you also were an alumnus of the Mozarteum University in Salzburg. So right now, where are you? Are you in
Yes,
Salzburg?
I'm in Salzburg. Rainy but
So
beautiful Salzburg.
and so I guess life is super pleasant as always in Salzburg, apart from the rain. But would you like to share with us, for our listeners, this incredible personality, eclectic and really with an immense horizon of interests, some anecdote or some crazy stuff that Matthias, the man Matthias, does?
Oh, well, I don't know. I like to play chess. I recently got a new coach. I work with him once a week, twice a week actually. And yeah, I really enjoy improving my chess skills. I also like to code. I write a lot of the programs that we use here in the Karajan Institute. And I really enjoy that because it's something that puts me out of my comfort zone. Not a lot of people know, but I have studied classical guitar performance before I did a PhD in musicology. So I'm actually a performer and artist by heart, and uh, and all the other things about technology, creativity, and musicology, they came later, really. So yeah, I like to really combine artistic and scientific worlds. Yeah.
And I believe this is a really, truly unique combination because you come up then with things that are amazing, both on the scientific and more rational side, but also they're so inspiring because they contain this, I would say, creativity and artistic approach, which is personally what I love also about the Karajan conference and so on.
Thank you, thank you. It's actually it wasn't always so clear, and it's definitely not an easy journey because when you start out with one thing, you measure sort of all of your success and your progress from that domain, and then when other interests creep in, they they are a little bit like a distraction. And so it took a while for me to figure out that really what I would like to do in life is this combination of both worlds, creativity and technology. That wasn't always so clear. It's only sort of when you look back that you see, oh yeah, that kind of looked obvious, but not to me.
I would like to start off with our first topic and bring up the incredible work that you did at Karajan Institute. So this is, I understand, a mixture again of a data-driven approach applied to the purest classical music. So tell us a little bit how it started and what you have come up with.
Yeah, so how did it all start? When I came back from the United States, where I was really in the academic world. I was a college fellow at Harvard University, teaching graduate students and undergraduates in music history. I came back to Salzburg in late 2011, and the task was really to look at the estate of Herbert von Karajan and find a way to revitalize it and to make it ready for sort of the future. And the goal was to bring classical music really into the digital world. Luckily, this is something that works really, really well with the brand of Herbert von Karajan, because he himself was so interested in precisely this, using technology and the latest in media approaches to bring classical music to wider audiences. What I quickly realized going through our archive and reading all of the correspondence and so on was that when you look at classical music, it requires a very different kind of set of metadata from what you are used to in the pop and rock and other kind of genres music industry. So where you have a band or a singer and an album and tracks on the album. In classical music, you have the composer, you have, maybe an arranger, you have an orchestra, a soloist, conductor, and they perform a piece by that composer, and that ends up on multiple recordings. And, all of this makes it very difficult for our fans to find the recordings on the streaming services that were coming out back then. And so we set out to create a huge database of everything that Karajan recorded, with the information about the composers, the performers, where, the orchestras, which concert hall, which date, what other things were on the program. Luckily, a lot of that had already been prepared by my predecessors, but it was not in a form that one could use on the internet. So essentially, this was a main task in the beginning. And it's the kind of thing where everyone who's kind of insane, who's sane, shies away from, because you put a lot of effort and a lot of time into building something where the impact is not immediately measurable, right? Because we were so ahead of the curve with this that, no one used our data. And so therefore, there was no direct return on investment, if you want. But it was clear to us that doing this would benefit us in the long term tremendously. The main aspect that helped us was, of course, that once you have the data in the structured form, it is quite easy to build new applications on top of it, to actually have third-party integrations, to collaborate with others, and to always be sort of the first when it comes to a new development, because you have the data. You already have a structured approach to getting the information. We didn't stop with the works and the performances and so on. We actually went into the biography. We have a database of the geolocation of all of the places that Karajan had been to. So basically, you look up the day and we can tell you precisely where he was. You can look at maps. You can connect the data from the recordings into the map, stuff like this. It was something that was a lot of fun, and doing the first classical music hackathon played into that as well, because then we were able to give our data to all of these amazing creative technologists, and they started to play around with it. Yeah, and it's really the backbone of what we're doing, because we constantly add things to it. And now we are in a position where you can ask us a question about any aspect of Karajan's life, and in a matter of really milliseconds, we have an answer.
It resonates so much because at Artelize, we have thought
Yes.
we are doing such a similar thing, and we feel that we are in a similar position, like being sometimes too ahead of times. And but absolutely, the power of the data driven approach. It's true. It takes a little bit of time in the beginning, and it's a lot of groundwork first to get these data, to polish them, to categorize everything, but then it's like so
Mhm.
powerful, absolutely. And I wanted to quickly go back to our panel.
Mhm.
And I know you were a little bit, you kept telling me that I was asking you difficult questions, so I'm going to make sure all the questions today are going to be super simple.
Thank you.
No, I'm joking, of course, of course. So there is a picture that I have been sharing on our social media channel, post panel, where we are all smiling and laughing really genuinely. That was right after one of your intervention, because you really were so nice and sweet. And so you also helped me getting this very nice picture of all the panels. So thank you.
You're welcome.
What impresses me is your ability, because probably of what you said, you have been dealing with so many different things, and so I can immediately tell that your mind is so quick and it easily gets to the point, and can understand immediately, the context of the situation, and come up with new stuff. Talking about audience engagement, rethinking the audience engagement in our days with the help possibly of technology to support this engagement. You came up with the expression, you really coined it, scaled intimacy. And this basically went a bit viral in our little world. So thank you again, by the way, because it really is describing this different approach. So scaled intimacy, it reflects exactly the different connection that today the audience
Mhm.
has towards music in general, and of course the performing arts.
Well, I mean, when you look at technology and what it can do for us in our lives, um, there are many different ideas and opinions about what's happening. And one of the things that I always found interesting was that with the help of technology, I can quickly transform myself in a way. I can learn new subjects. I can be in different places. I can, talk to people who are on the other side of the planet. All of these things really help me transform myself. And it's the same with music. When I make music, when I listen to music, when I go to a concert, it's always this interaction between me and what's out there. On a very high level, what technology is doing is it's giving us more opportunities for these moments where we interact with our true self or inner self or whatever you may call it. I'm looking at this from a very positive perspective, and for me, the idea of having more of these moments and with interesting people with interesting works of art with interesting problems that need to be solved. This is what life is really all about, and in this sense technology is a great enabler for me. So other people may say, well, technology is kind of taking away from us. It's sort of taking away the humanity, and that could perhaps be true in certain cases. It's always a question how you use the tools and to what end and in which way, and to be mindful of the potential and also the pitfalls. I think that's important. And when we apply technology in the right way, I think it can greatly enhance our experiences in the real life. I mean, the real life is also life in a digital world. Like, this is real for now. I mean, we have a real conversation, even though we're not in the same room. So for me, this aspect of technology actually enhancing those aspects that are the essence of what makes us human, that's very important. And this is where I've concentrated my career on these aspects, really.
Yes, it is so interesting because all you're saying, I can just see. I always picture the Karajan tech conference. I would say it's an atmosphere that you breathe
Mhm.
there, and that was very impressive to me as well, because I could sense that immediately. This participation,
Mhm.
you just see a bunch of humans
Mhm.
playing around. So there is this space of exactly like kids. So you're in a safe
Mhm.
space where you can explore and play. And that's, as far as I know, where genius can operate. And that's exactly where this advancement, and also what you were saying, this getting in touch with yourself, is really stimulated, right? So I really love this approach that you described, with having basically an open
Mhm.
mind.
A couple of years ago, we had the 50th anniversary of the Salzburg Easter Festival, which is a festival for music that was founded by Herbert von Karajan 50 years ago. And he would be the artistic director of it. He would be the principal conductor or the sole conductor. And he would bring the Berlin Philharmonic to Salzburg to perform opera, which they don't do in Berlin. And give the audience an opportunity to engage with the great works of art of our time. And he was, obviously quite busy during the festival. But when the festival was over, Karajan took a day and created a symposium with people from all walks of life, physicists, philosophers, technologists, other musicians, literary people, and so on. And they would discuss a topic for a whole day. It was a public forum, and it gave him, I think, a way to interact with topics outside of music, but that were connected. After Karajan's death, these series of events were no longer held. And for the 50th anniversary, the managing director of the festival, Peter Rosicka, had this idea, well, why don't we create a symposium to reflect also on what we're doing? And he asked me whether I could curate a panel discussion on digitalization in classical music. And I was very happy to do that. And I announced it on my social media channels. And then the phone didn't stand still, and people would call me and say like, "Oh, this is great. Can we come?" And is there maybe? So I added another panel to it, and a third panel. And then when I had enough interest for a fourth panel, I said like, "Well, now we can call it a conference." And we just called it the Kaya Music Tech Conference, and it was held for the first time at the 50th anniversary of the Salzburg Easter Festival. It was really an amazing combination of people who were artists, musicians, scientists, students, people who invest into startups and so on. We never founded the whole thing to be sort of, oh, it's a startup conference or it's a technology conference only or things like this. No, it was always in the spirit of Herbert von Karajan, a place to engage with ideas which may or may not be related to music. And that's where the inspiration is coming from. And obviously, a couple of years later, you have a lot of interesting stories to tell. For instance, the companies that started sort of, they didn't start with us, of course, but we were maybe one of the first venues that they came to was Mimi Technologies in Berlin, a really fascinating company. They produce an algorithm that allows you to measure sort of the individuality of your hearing, and then when you listen to music through your devices, it will adjust the mix of the music in such a way that your hearing and your listening experience is greatly enhanced. So we thought, oh, that's so beautiful, and it was a good fit also for classical music, right? Yeah, so we had them. We tried to communicate a lot about them and help them a little bit. And they found, one of their investors at our conference, board member there. We always try to build sort of an ecosystem of people who were like-minded and who would support each other. And that's what makes this experience so satisfying also for me and my team to put up every year, because you can imagine it's a lot of work. I'm sure you know, because you also do events, and it's just it's very draining in the end, but so rewarding at the same time. So yeah, I don't probably it you can tell that we like doing it, and therefore the result is also in a way enjoyable.
When it comes to explain and present new concept, new approaches, new things to people, uh, what do we do? Is there any recipe you found because of your incredible experience?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a recipe. I'm happy to share my thoughts. Often when you have a new idea and you know it's going to be important some way, or you think it might be important, and you start talking about it, you quickly see like the blank stare of people, and what is he talking about? It doesn't make any sense. How is that relevant for what I'm doing? So there's this constant search for a way to express your idea in a way that it resonates with the audience. And this process is extremely difficult, and it takes a lot of energy, and it's sometimes wearing you out, and you just have to be very patient and just always renew your enthusiasm and keep doing it. And then the greatest reward is when a couple of years later people come to you and say like, hey, I have an idea, wouldn't it be great to, and then dot dot dot, and that's basically what you've been trying to tell them for 3 years. So if you think about it in a negative way, you could say, well, you failed at explaining yourself. Yes, that's true. But also this moment of recognition comes suddenly. It's like an exponential change, right? Very little in the beginning, and then all of a sudden there's a big wave. And yeah, you just keep, as you say, at the Karajan Music Tech Conference, we like to play with ideas and technology and concepts, and you keep playing, and at one point things become common knowledge, which is what happened with generative AI. We used to call it creative AI before the term was coined a couple of years ago. People would not understand, why or how a computer could be creative, or how we could emulate creativity. These kinds of things were sort of holy grails of the cognitive sciences and the computer sciences, and now it's in everyone's hands. And I don't know a single person. Well, I do know a couple of people, but very few people are not using it now every day. And this is a change in, I don't know, it was happening within the span of 1.5 years.
I guess what you mean is also trusting the process. So trusting what you've
Yeah.
got, trusting your instincts. And because no matter what, this is also sort of planting a little seed
Mhm.
in people. So it might not blossom right away, because we would like everyone to understand at once everything that we have in our mind. But maybe this is also good because it gives us a little bit of time to reflect and also revisit our projects. And I know that the waiting and the patience aspect can be frustrating, but at the same time, as you were saying, the reward the final reward actually sometimes is even deeper than the pace of change becomes much faster. You really need to figure out how you want to talk about new technology and new infrastructure, how to include new tools in an environment that didn't need to
Mhm.
evolve maybe at that time, and there were some different situations. Doesn't matter the conditions, but it was just things were going well. And then of course the pandemic accelerated the process of awareness in terms of we do need
Mm.
technology in order to better our even our lifestyle.
Mhm.
Recorded music is a bit more advanced, as you also mentioned that, so you have more uh, you can operate with technology more easily. But the performing arts, yeah, it's a bit trickier. Do you have an idea about what's going to happen with the performing arts? Because I know you also are in touch with
Mhm.
artists that are
Mhm.
performers and that use plenty of technology, and they do also live performances using technology at the same time. So it is actually not impeding live performance.
The global accessibility of everything. We haven't even glimpsed what that's going to be like because we still operate in these bubbles. But now these bubbles have become so big that for the attention of a single person, it's impossible to follow everything that is even of specialty interest for that person. So we have all of this technology that helps us to filter, to find, to understand, and to put into context. That creates, of course, immense opportunity for us, but it also creates immense changes and transformation. Uh, Say if you solve a problem in the technology space, and it's say in the form of a startup that has a certain product. Today, it's increasingly difficult to stay ahead of your competition for a long enough time to recoup a lot of the investments that were made into your technology. So, this approach that was outlined by Peter Thiel a couple of years ago, 0 to 1, sort of to really focus on being the monopolist in a certain market, and then create all of the value for your own company in that segment. I think those days are coming to an end. And I think in its place, we'll see a development of, like your company, a development of an ecosystem approach where one says, like, can we solve a particular problem in a way that is communal and that gives a little bit of value to everyone participating. This is a novel approach. I mean, novel, it has been around for a couple of decades, but is now getting more traction. And I think this is a very important turning point for our economies as well, because when you think about what that means for economies of regions, cities, regions, nations, and then on a global scale, you'll see that we will move more towards a collective problem-solving economy than a value creation economy for entities. I think this is going to recede over time. But what does that mean for our field, performing arts, and sort of the interaction between humans and art? I think we're getting to a golden time, really a golden time of it, because we have the opportunity to interact with artworks on a much bigger scale now. We have the opportunity to engage with them in digital form, in virtual reality, but also we have more and more tools and means to actually go to an in-person performance of something and have this sort of almost meditative, interaction with the artwork. So I believe that we're really at the cusp of a new flowering of this kind of culture. It's going to be different, however. I don't think it's going to be sort of what we had in the past. We preserve it and now we make it bigger. It's gonna have a lot of changes because as artists are incorporating technology, learning systems, artificial intelligence, and other tools into their creative process, the art itself will change tremendously, and it's not going to be comparable. And I'd say that's a good thing because, imagine what kind of music we would have today if it hadn't changed in the last, 10,000 years. It would be very boring and bland. So, yeah, I'm a positive guy. I look forward to all of these changes, but I also recognize that it requires a changing mindset on our part, and that's where a lot of the tension arises, and we'll just have to deal with it. But ultimately, I think the ecosystem approach and the approach to change art through an interaction with technology and society, that's the way it goes.
So, Anna, how do you deal with the fear? Could you suggest a way to, I don't know, I don't want to say dominate because we should have fear. It's a normal thing, and it sometimes is very helpful, and it actually even brings to new discoveries.
Mhm.
But I think in this approach, especially when it's about working with technology, it is important to stay calm and just open, exactly, and open-minded, that can then better also see what's happening and assess it with clarity, and decide what's good,
Mhm.
what's not working, and but in a safer approach, I would say.
Yeah, good question. I think fear is often in the way of happiness, and the best way to deal with fear is to first acknowledge it, and observe it a little bit, but then let it also go. And you get into a very good position of letting fear go when you know about the thing that you are fearful of. So if we are fearful of, say, a new technology, my strategy is always, well, let's learn how it works. What is it doing? And then you start to play around with it, and you see its potential. You see where it has problems. And that actually puts things very much into perspective. And it's like learning an instrument. When you perform on an instrument, or you're a singer, there are always these moments in which you are going to be fearful, stage fright, being in front of an audience, or even your teacher, or getting to that moment in the piece where it's going to be tough for you. Well, the way to make it better is to really understand what is causing my problem here. And this is, you will only find it out by studying the problem, and by really trying to feel what is keeping you from playing that passage, and really understanding your body, the muscles, your mental capacity in that particular moment. So as you get more comfortable, and or as you get more knowing about your issue, you get more comfortable, and that's when the fear suddenly evaporates, and you gain more control. It's the same with everything else, I think, in life, and technology in society is no different. Plus, in the end, there will be so many different approaches to technology. We see it in the way that our nation states are, regulating, for instance, artificial intelligence. There are lots of differences in the world, and just recognize the differences and work with what you have. That's sort of all you can do.
If you feel like to just close up with a little encouragement.
I think our industry is really at an amazing point in time. We have great tools that we can use to reach people in the right moment, in the right mindset, in the right place. And there's really nothing to be fearful about. The only thing that I would say is, we have to be open. We have to go to the places that are unusual for us to unlock this value. If we don't do that, we'll just be circling around ourselves, and then we will become completely irrelevant for the world out there. So my approach would be to be open and to be curious and playful and build together. That's my credo.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. And I also encourage that as well.
Thanks a lot for
So
having me.
where are you going next? Can we know a little bit of your next endeavors?
So next for us is a series of publications with our long-term partner Deutsche Grammophon. And if you follow the Karajan social media channels or if you subscribe to our newsletter, you will be the first to hear. I'm very excited about this because we'll be releasing some of the works Karajan recorded many decades ago in a new kind of format, and that should be a very immersive and a beautiful experience for you. So that's next for us. That's what we're preparing, and what Deutsche Grammophon is preparing, and I can't wait to see it out there.
Matthias, thank you so much for being on the Artelize podcast. Thank you for your time and your amazing content. And I'm sure you brought a lot of food for thoughts. And we'll definitely talk to you again. And in the meanwhile, please take care and all the best with your next appointments. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
very much. Bye bye, Paula. Ciao.